Okay, why don't we get started? So thank you everybody for coming today to the beginning and lower school admission process overview webinar. My name is Josh Bellish. I am the beginning and lower school enrollment specialist. Let me go to the next screen. There I am. I am filling in for Jasmine Davidson, who is our director of beginning and lower school enrollment while she is on leave. On today's call, we also have Mary Jacob. She's our Director of Financial Assistance, Maribeth Pesamonte, our Enrollment Data Manager, and then um, is also, Sarah Nordoff, sorry, is also here. She'll be helping us with questions later on in the presentation. So we'll start by kind of going over some of our class size data. So in preschool, we usually have about 20 or so students that we admit annually. In kindergarten, we add usually an additional 18 or so spots. And then as you can see, first through fifth grade, it's usually between two and four additional seats that we offer in those grades. It really does depend on our re-enrollment numbers every year, which we usually find out after February, how many students are going to be re-enrolling, sorry, and that gives us kind of an idea of how many spots we're going to have in first through fifth grade. Here's the averages again, 20 new students, 20 students total, with 20 new students in preschool, 18 in kindergarten, and then 4 or 5 or so first through fifth grade. So our guiding principles of our enrollment process. So when we are looking at enrolling new students, we really want to lead with Catlin Gable's mission and values, our values of integrity and kindness and inclusion. We want to make sure that the students really and families really fit Catlin Gable and who we are as a school. Another guiding principle of our process is we really want to be as transparent and accessible as possible. We want to try to keep surprises as a minimum and make sure that parents have all of the information that they need in order to make a well-informed decision on sending their student to Catlin Gable. We also really try to honor the individuality of each of our student applicants. We really want to see them as a whole person and the various different skills, abilities, strengths, weaknesses that we all have. So we really want to honor each student and as an individual. Okay. So the types of admission decisions. First is our offer of admission. So this is when a student has been selected to join the upcoming school year's cohort. So welcome to Catlin Gable. We're excited to offer that. It gives you also an opportunity to ask any additional questions that you might have. And usually you have a couple weeks to decide that if we're going to be the best fit for your family. The second admission decision is offer of weight pool. So that means, you're an admissible student. We would like to have you, but we really only have so many spots. So we would like to offer a kind of a weight pool hold position. And if an additional spot opens up, then we do offer spots to our weight pool applicants. The last decision, and it's the hardest one, is not this year. That usually means that maybe it's not the right fit for this year. Maybe there's a little bit of additional, growth that needs to happen. But it only holds for this particular decision. You're welcome to reapply the next year. We don't hold that moving forward. The application process. So we start doing tours and conversations, usually with conversations with me and tours either with me or with our parent ambassadors. We offer a lot of those throughout the fall and the winter. Next, you would fill out your parent and guardian questions. So that's in the application portal. And we just want you to fill that out to the best of your ability and really be who you are, be genuine, be yourselves when you're filling those questions out. Starting in November, you can submit teacher evaluations. So we send those off to the teachers and they just kind of fill in some information about your student. If for some reason your student isn't currently in school and you don't have a teacher for that evaluation, there are other options that we can look at. So just send me an email and we can work that out. We also have our video snapshot for preschool and kindergarten applicants. It's just a short little video that you'll submit to us with a pre-assigned activity. Third through fifth grade, we have a writing sample that we ask our students to submit. We do want that in their handwritten. We provide a prompt for that. And so you would just have the student fill that out and send that over to us. Lastly, in January and February, we have our student visit days. So January 25th is our preschool through first grade visit day, and February 1st is our second through fifth grade visit day. So those are a day where the students will come to campus. We take small groups of students together and they kind of go through like a mock class situation. So there'll be a teacher, they'll have circle time, they'll do some activities, they'll do some assessments with our reading and math specialists. And they have a lot of playtime, so we want to see how they interact with their peers, how they interact with their teachers and other adults in the space. So it's really our opportunity to see what your student is like in the class, but also for your student to see what it's like kind of as a student there too. So the video snapshot, it's 1 2-minute video. The current activity is drawing a picture. What we want out of this is we're looking for some authentic moments with your students interacting in a place that's comfortable to them, because the videos are often taken from home, which is definitely, the most comfortable space for most kiddos. So it really allows them an opportunity to shine in their activity. We usually do provide a couple prompts of questions that you might ask while they're drawing. And that way, we can kind of understand like, well, what is it that they're doing? I think it's a picture of family, could be wrong. But like, why did you draw that? Who's in the picture? Questions like that, so that we can kind of engage and understand the purpose behind the drawing that they're submitting. All of those details, all of the prompts, all of that stuff is all in the admission portal. Upcoming events. If you haven't already signed up, our open house is this Sunday, the October 27th. Open house is a fantastic opportunity to come on campus. You'll hear from our head of beginning and lower school. You'll be able to hear from some students. You get to talk to the teachers, our specialists. It's a really fun opportunity to, kind of be in the space and learn from the teachers, hear from their perspective, their point of view, what it's like here and what the type of things that they're teaching in their classes. We have a beginning and lower school at a glance in December. You will hear from our head of beginning and lower school, as well as teachers. And they go over like, what does math look like at Catlin Gable? What does literacy look like at Catlin Gable? Things like that. It's another fantastic opportunity for you to learn how we're teaching and what we're teaching and see if you can envision your student in that type of a learning environment. As I previously mentioned, our visit and play dates on January 25th and February 1st as well. That's all of the slides I have. So Sarah is going to help us with some questions. So Mary Jakob will be able to answer our financial assistance questions. Maribeth will be able to answer questions that might have come up about the application in the portal. Yeah, so we'll see what we've got.
The chat seems to be disabled.
We've got, yeah, we're having some issues with the chat, Josh, with the disability of it. So what does seem to be working is attendees, if you could raise your hand, there's a button at the bottom.
I did, I fixed it, so hopefully the participants can now go into the chat.
There we
Okay.
go.
Oh,
It's
I can.
getting in now.
Yes. Yay. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone.
No worries. All right, Josh, you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
What's that?
Get ready. Yes.
Yeah, great. So the first question is about decision making in terms of admissions and financial assistance. And this participant is wondering if we make the admission decision first and then decide on financial assistance, if those two decisions are released at the same time.
Yeah, so the applications are separate. The financial assistance application, you're going to submit completely separately from your admission application. They are due at the same time. So January 21st is the due date on that. And the reviewers for the student, so our panel that make those decisions on which students we're applying, they don't know the financial assistance request that is coming. So we do review those completely separately. And once we've been provided, like, these are the students we want, that's when we then look at the financial assistance needs of that selection. So the decision will come out jointly. If you were admitted to the school, we are also going to, if you applied for financial assistance, we would send you that information at the same time. That way, you know, when you're making that decision, if there's financial assistance and how much that might be. Great question.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Mary Jakob, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just that, you know, please feel confident that your child is being, you know, assessed on their merits, and financial assistance comes into play as a factor among many factors in who is receiving an offer of admission, you know, siblings and how many spots, how many girls, how many boys, you know, so there's many factors that come into play, of which financial assistance is one of them. And we're pretty great at getting the kids that we want, and where we probably have more trouble is in the wait pool process, because we do have to wait for money to come back in to reallocate. But our goal is to allocate all the money. So, so that's just some food for thought. Thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you, Mary. There was a slide on how we select, but that seems to be missing. So sorry I didn't go over that.
That's okay. And just so attendees know, Mary will be hosting a financial assistance webinar as well. That's that date and time is on our website. So if that's something you'd like to learn more about, please attend.
Or come see me at open house.
Oh yes, come to open house on Sunday. That's right. We'll all be there. Okay, Josh, next question. Are admissions decisions rolling? Admission applications and decisions, is it a rolling process?
It is not. So we offer, we do our first round of offers in the beginning of March. And then it's the wait pool from that point until the day before the first day of school. So we do offer positions from our wait pool all the way until, like, school starts tomorrow. And then we start afresh. We start new, so we don't hold over the wait pool into the current year. So we really want to make sure when we are selecting our applicants, we're not reviewing them off of who they were last year. We want to know who they are this year for this current application season. So that's why we don't hold that over year to year.
Great. Thanks, Josh. The only thing I would add is that some years we keep the application window open through the summer, and sometimes until the summer, and sometimes not even. So it really depends on the year in terms of the numbers of spots available, the size of the applicant pool. There's various factors that go into that decision-making of whether we close the door or not. But we would notify families in plenty of time before that decision is made. Okay. Josh, what percentage of total applications are accepted, if you can share that stat?
For beginning and lower school, it's about a 28% of applicants accepted. I believe the total school number is around 33% for that's all school.
Thank you. Yeah, and I always share with families, you know, if that you'll certainly not be accepted if you don't apply, right? So if that statistic feels like, gosh, that it seems like there's fewer students admitted than I had thought, it is the case that it's competitive. It's a very holistic, full process, and we encourage families to go for it and to have a backup plan as well that you also feel excited about, so that if you get that wait pool decision that Josh mentioned, you'll have another option that will also be great. Okay, Josh, could you go into some more detail about teacher evaluations? What can this parent share with the teacher to prepare them to write on their child's behalf?
So we send that directly to the teachers. And we actually, sorry, apologize. We have the teachers send that directly back to us because we kind of want the teachers to be able to write honestly and authentically about the student. Really, it's be honest, show your child in, you know, the best light, like on a good day, not on a bad day. But please don't exaggerate, be authentic, be real, try to represent the child for who they are, you know, in the best light, but genuinely who they are. So there's not really a whole lot of guidance that I would recommend beyond just try to be authentic.
Thanks, Josh. This question is about the video snapshot that you mentioned. This parent's wondering if it's okay to go over the 2-minute limit by a little.
By a little bit, yes. You know, we do have to review all of those 2-minute snapshots. You know, so you don't have to cut it off directly at 2 minutes. You know, that'd be kind of silly of us to ask. Try not to go, 4 or 5 minutes, things like that. You know, but if you're a little bit over, that's okay, because we want to see your child engaging. And if it takes a couple extra seconds so that they can explain, why mommy has an eye up here and an eye down here, then please give them that opportunity to explain their picture. So yeah, it's okay to go a little bit over.
Great, thank you. What about for the school visit? If you have a current first grader, should you follow the dates that you mentioned for first grade or the grade to which they're applying next year?
The grade that they are applying to.
What if you have a student who needs speech therapy? And I think this might be in the vein of, do we have supports for speech therapy at the school?
Yeah, so we have various different learning specialists and learning supports in place. It tends to focus more on academic need, like where they might be a little bit behind in reading, a little bit behind in math, things like that. When it comes to speech therapy, we would refer you to an outside provider. So we do bring a speech therapist onto campus so they can do speech therapy during the day. It is an additional cost to the family, or like I said, you can find your own speech therapist outside of the school. And we do sometimes have financial assistance opportunities if speech therapy is recommended by us, if that's outside of your family's ability.
Right. Thanks, Josh. This is a question about the functionality of the application system itself. This parent was trying to select for the student visit and play day, but isn't able to yet. Is that because do we give time slots for that ourselves?
The preschool kindergarten one, I think we send out those time slots.
Okay.
That's correct. For the visit day,
dates, and the date is already chosen, and we assign a time slot and send a confirmation email that lets you know what that time slot is. It's shortly after the application deadline that we'll send that out.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Maribeth.
Thank you. Okay, so an applicant to the preschool, Josh, do they need to have a teacher evaluation? And if so, would something like an evaluation from a daycare teacher, daycare provider be okay?
So it is still a piece, but we understand that some students never came, weren't in school prior to preschool with us. So yeah, we're looking for a non-family member who would have like some type of like coaching or educational experience that with the student. So yeah, if there's like a daycare that you're a part of that is kind of like a daycare preschool situation, that would be acceptable. And if you don't have that, feel free to email me and we can shoot around other options and ideas. There's coaches, piano teachers, things like that we can also utilize.
Sounds good. What should families expect for the campus tour and conversation, Josh? What is that experience like?
It's one of the really fun things that you get to do. You just come to campus, so there's a lot of time slots that you can sign up for in the admissions portal. Depending on the time slot that you sign up for, you would either meet with me before your tour or after your tour. So 15 minutes before or 15 minutes after, depending on which one you sign up for. And it's an opportunity for me to get to know you and your family a little bit. And then an opportunity for you to walk around campus guided, either myself or we have wonderful parent ambassadors who lead many of our campus tours. So you get to go into the classroom spaces, you get to observe what's going on in the classes and kind of see our principals in action. And assuming you're being led by one of our parent ambassadors, you can ask them all the questions about what it's like to be a parent at Catlin. How's it been for your student? Why did you choose this school? So it kind of gives you some additional insight coming from somebody that's not involved in the decision-making process.
Great. Do families need to prepare for that conversation, Josh, or is it fairly informal?
It's pretty informal. We'll just chat.
Great. Okay, if this, let's see, this person applied to the wait pool in late summer, do they need to submit a new video snapshot? Thinking that there's
Yes.
not a lot that's changed since July. And
I
that
would still ask for a new video snapshot on that.
yeah, kids do change. It's amazing. I feel that every year, even if we often see reapplicants, and it's often a lot of growth. So thank you, team, for doing that on behalf of the admission committees. This family lives out of state and they're moving to Portland next summer, applying for 2 students, wondering, is it a problem if they're not able to attend admission events? Sounds like they're sending some family as their proxy for open house, but do we track attendance at events? Does that weigh into admission decisions at all? Anything of note for families applying from out of town?
Yeah, we don't track who came to each of our events. We try to track overall numbers, so that we can just kind of gauge the success of our event. But, I'm not taking attendance today. I'm not taking attendance at open house. So if you are out of state, I would recommend coming to some of the virtual experiences like this. That way you get to have a direct experience versus, coming from somebody else. But no, we're not gauging it based upon how many events you attended. Yeah, that doesn't factor in because we definitely have families who move here, who get accepted, and we've never even met them.
Great. Is open house a parent-only event, Josh?
Yes, so we do ask that it is parent only. About the one exception I would say is if you have a very small infant child, that you need to continue to be with, that's understandable. I would recommend in that case you use an infant carrier, a wearable infant carrier, if that is an option for you, because it's just far easier to navigate that. But yeah, we don't want students, there's going to be lots and lots of people on campus. And so it's really it doesn't give you, the parent, the best opportunity to experience the presentations or have those opportunities with the teachers if you're having to wrangle little ones. So please leave them at home.
Great, thank you. Do you know, Josh, if there's a reason why language isn't offered in preschool? We offer it starting in first grade.
I do not know why. Sarah, do you know why? I think you might be able to answer that question maybe better than me.
Yeah, it's it's something that comes up periodically with the administration and teachers at the school, and we did actually start a conversation pretty seriously last year about beginning languages in kindergarten. I would not be surprised if that's something that we do in the near future. We'll see. But right now, I think the thinking is that there's just there's a developmental moment in first grade where students are really ready for that kind of acquisition. And so we take advantage of that. And our schedule in the beginning of school is one that's already pretty filled with specialists, quote unquote, opportunities in terms of art and music and woodshop and wellness and library time. And there's just, the schedule's already very full. In addition to the sort of literacy and math times of the day as well. So I think it's partly a developmental decision, but also just in terms of trying to figure out how would we fit that in with the schedule is a complicated question for us now. It would also mean that our language teachers would need to take on 2 other grades, which would mean we probably need to hire a couple of other teachers, which also is not within the school's budget capacity right now. So some practical reasons too, I would say, but it's a great question. Okay.
I think we have time for one more.
Okay. Is that right? We end at 12:30? Okay.
Yeah. Or what does it say on our thing?
We can take some more questions. We go till 12:45.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Great. Let's see. So this is a question, Josh, about the application process. Are there sort of common criteria for whether a student is placed in the wait list or not offered admission? It would be, or maybe offered admission, common criteria for all 3 decisions. It would be helpful for families to just to know.
I would say the only one that might, there's nothing that's concrete. I'd say the only one that has it's maybe a little bit easier to explain is the not this year. And that's usually because the student just isn't quite ready. Maybe they haven't had any schooling at all, and developmentally they're just not there yet. But as regards to admitting versus wait pool, it really depends on the group of students that we have. So our admissions committee, they take those groups of students and they're going to, look at these students and try to create a cohort of students from various different backgrounds. We want different levels of learners. We want try to balance male female. There's a lot of different components and a lot of different perspectives. It's not made by one person, it's made by a group of people, educators, staff, faculty. So they're really trying to create like a little micro community that is representative of the broader community. So because of that, there's not any one trait, one skill, one value that we're looking for.
Thank you, Josh. And the only thing I would add in terms of the decision to not offer a spot in the wait pool would be that we really that's really in service to the student, feeling like we don't have the program that's the best fit for that student right now. I liked the way that Josh framed it in terms of a not this year, because as we just talked about, students grow and change and develop, and certainly have seen students who were not offered admission in 1 year, and then they apply to the middle school and they're here and they're great. So that's not uncommon, but that's really just, I think that's a hard decision to receive, but I hope families will receive it in the spirit of that's what's best, at least from what we can evaluate for the student, but it's not a never. So Josh, there's a few questions related to weight pool, and I think they're in the spirit of when you have the weight pool, is it ranked? Is it really a pool that you're going to in service to what you just described of the class community? Sort of, how does it work in terms of making decisions from the weight pool?
Yeah, so it's definitely not ranked in any way. It is more like trying to fill in the hole. So, if we lost a particular piece of the puzzle that we're looking for, we're trying to kind of replace the piece of the puzzle. So it's really based upon, those various different traits and values and things that I previously explained. We're trying to just refill those. Which isn't always possible. We can't always go like for like, and we're not always wanting to do like for like, right? We might find that, maybe we were a little off balance in this other area, so we can pull somebody from the weight pool. But no, there's no ranking in regards to that.
Great. And similarly, some questions related to as we make acceptance decisions, in addition to creating the sort of diverse cohort and the broadest definition of the word, what are some of the other sort of more academic pieces that we look for as we're admitting students into the grades?
In preschool and kindergarten, it's, fairly basic academic preparedness. We don't put a huge focus on the academic skills, preschool, kindergarten. I would say even first grade probably. It's more the 3rd through 5th grade where we're doing like the writing samples and things like that we're looking for somebody who can kind of come in and be roughly where the class is at. Not, we understand that our math program is a little bit different and we don't expect everybody to be at exactly our level, maybe, but at least within a range that we can, coach up to where the rest of the students are at.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, the only thing I'd add is that I think we're primarily students who are offered admission are at grade level or above for their grades. That's true for kindergarten and first as well. Our teachers help with that sort of assessment. And I think Josh is right in terms of the Beehive, preschool and kindergarten. It's a little bit more, I mean, it's about readiness for school, right? And we look at things like, can they transition from the circle time down to the wellness space? And are they able to successfully be in a program where they're with different grown-ups throughout the day? Catlin is not a one-room schoolhouse kind of program. So there's a lot of movement throughout the day, and different kids, different teachers, and students really need to be able to thrive in that kind of environment. So especially when they come for their visit day, that's the kinds of things that we're looking for in their readiness for school, if you will.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Okay. Josh, do students need to be potty trained prior to attending?
Yes. For preschool, all of our students should be potty trained. We understand accidents still happen, and we work with students, where accidents are happening. So we don't want to shame them. We ask parents to provide additional clothing, and our teachers and teachers' assistants will help in instances of an accident happening. But we do expect that in general, the student is potty trained.
Great. Great. Ms. Parent's asking about the grading system at Catlin Gable. How is it different from a more traditional school?
So in preschool through fifth grade, we're looking to see where they are at in relation to kind of our benchmarks. Are they meeting our benchmarks? Are they exceeding our benchmarks? Or are they needing a little help to meet the benchmark? So that's pretty much, yeah, meets, exceeds. I can't remember what the third one's called, but the not quite there.
Great. Couple of quick questions here. Can families complete the process, Josh, remotely, all remotely? So in terms of like the visit, I think it's all largely online, but in terms of the visit day, if they can't come to campus, what would they do?
Yeah, so in the instance that you aren't able to ever make it to campus prior to the admissions deadline, we usually just ask for some additional videos of your student. I think it's like 3 or 4 videos instead of just the one video. That way we can see the student engaging in different skills like counting and movement and things like that. So we do have processes in place through these additional videos to help with out of state, out of country applicants. So it can completely be done virtually.
Great. Thank you. Is there a cutoff age for preschool, Josh?
So students need to be 4 by September 1st. So, even if they turn 4 the day after, the cutoff is they have to be 4 by September 1st.
Thank you. There's a couple questions in here about supports for neurodiversity. Anything, Josh, to say about how we support kids who have different learning needs?
Yeah, so our teachers are pretty well versed, I would say, in students of different needs. One of the great things about Catlin is we really do try to focus on meeting a student where they are at and who they are. And because that's just like the overall focus of our school and our teachers, it kind of just organically allows teachers to work with students who might have a few additional needs. But we have a lot of things like wobble stools. We have our school counselor and our learning specialist, and they come into the classrooms and they evaluate students to try to see if there's additional accommodations that we might need to make. We don't do any diagnosis of any type of neurodiversity. But we might make a recommendation of, hey, you might consider, because we're finding this is a pattern of behavior. But of course, we won't diagnose anything, and our teachers are not trained to diagnose. But our school counselor is also really fantastic in working with parents. They can come to our counselor and be like, these are additional, these are our concerns. Is there areas that we can help? Are there maybe outside referrals? Maybe I need to go and do, get an official diagnosis. Who do I go and see? Who do I talk to? And our school counselor comes into the class weekly and is able to kind of see students throughout the day. So there are a lot of resources. Kind of on a broader scale, we also have our affinity groups on campus. We have student affinity groups and we have parent affinity groups, and we have a neurodiverse affinity group. That way students who identify as neurodiverse can be around other students, and parents who have neurodiverse students can get together and they can talk about how to get support, how to get help, what it's like, and things like that. So there's also just kind of some community supports for those families who have students with various different neurodivergent needs.
Great. Thank you, Josh. The only thing I'd add is it really is to everyone's benefit for families to just be forthcoming in the application process about what those needs are, at least that have been identified so far for their children. So we can be in full partnership from the get-go on supports for what your kids need. So don't hold back.
Yeah.
Josh, do we have a bus system?
We do have buses. So if you come to a tour and conversation with me, we have a bus map in our lobby that you can take a look at, and you can see where everybody lives and what buses service your area. Our transportation specialist will also be at open house. So you can come and talk directly with our transportation specialist. And so we do have multiple different bus lines that service the different areas of Portland. It is an additional cost for the families. That can be part of financial aid discussions with Mary. But yes, we do offer buses.
I think families can see at least approximately where those bus routes are on the website, Josh, is that right? There's a transportation page.
There should be a transportation page, yeah.
And if you are awarded need-based financial assistance, you'll automatically get certain discounts.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. Hey, Mary, while we have you, there is a question in here about how financial aid decisions are made. Are they made by committee, similar to the admission process? How does that work?
Yes, so I go through and look at all the applications for families who have applied, and I just go through to make sure everything is verified and that I do read the narratives that people do write in the other considerations, just to make sure that any of those statements could be recalculating in the formula to help the family further or get them in the qualifying range. And then it depending on the application, it will be discussed at committee, and if eligible and the child is admitted, then we would make that offer of financial assistance.
Great, thank you, Mary. Last question, Josh, there's a couple of questions in here that are around generally the overarching philosophy of education at the school. So maybe a little bit more like what is progressive education to Catlin Gable? What does that look like for students in the beginning and lower school?
Yeah, so kind of our philosophy, we're very student focused and student led. Now, student led doesn't mean that students make all the choices and have like full run of the show. It's just more that students have a say, and we also take our students into consideration for the programs that we are developing, the programs that we're offering, and even our curriculum. Like for example, students will be out on a nature walk and they'll find a slug walking on, crossing their path. And now they're talking about a slug, and they go back into the classroom, and all of a sudden they're now doing 20-30 minutes of exploration on a slug. So there's times that are kind of built into our curriculum where it's flexible to study areas of interest within usually the scope of our broader curriculum. We have these, we have our guiding curriculum pieces, and then there's opportunities to kind of be flexible with that.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Lots to say about progressive education.
There is only so much time.
So we hope that means that you will all visit campus, whether in the form of open house or coming for a tour and conversation with Josh, or if you're from out of state, spending some time with Josh at a virtual Q&A. I think that's all the time we have for questions, Josh. So I'll let you close it out.
Okay, thank you everybody so much for coming. As I mentioned, this was recorded, and so that will be posted in about a week or so. And everybody have a good day. Hopefully I'll meet some of you at open house.